Elsa, your book has a very interesting title, Hippos, Hotspots and Homelands. Why this title?
Well, I like alliteration, but I thought of titles like There's an Elephant at My Window, but that seemed to be quite commonplace when I did some research on Amazon. So I looked at what I wrote and realized that the book had three main focus points or focus areas: animals, and that is what hippos refer to, obviously, the crime and student and political unrest, which would be the hotspots, and the areas where I lived, mainly then the homelands.
Where are you living at the moment?
At the moment, I'm living on Daniel Island in Charleston, South Carolina, in the United States. I moved to the USA in 2002. I came over as a visiting international faculty teacher.
There is a specific quote at the beginning of the book. Tell us more about it.
This quote actually hit me quite hard when I saw it. It reminded me that under apartheid, my life was cut out for me. I had many advantages that I would not have had otherwise. For example, a decent education, financial advantages, and a protected way of life.
Then you write about living on a farm in the Homelands. Tell us more about that.
It was so wonderful having the open spaces, the beautiful views, and where we lived, there were eagles nesting behind us in the rocks, and it was like living in the Golden Gate National Park. The same colors, and I had huge flower beds, and it was isolated and a little out of town, obviously, but I really enjoyed living there.
You also refer to your time in a game reserve.
It was a great privilege, and there was never a dull moment. And the reserve I lived in was the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, which is a very exclusive, famous Big Five game reserve. I had lots of adventures. Yeah, imagine waking up to leopards mating on the roof, for example.
Were there times where you feared for your life?
No, I can't remember ever being afraid. I actually talk about that in the book because, for example, we had a tennis court set up in the so-called backyard, but there was no fence where that tennis court was. And you sort of had a feeling of security, probably because it's your home. So I cannot say that I was afraid. Careful, yes. You know, one had to keep an eye out when you went to get into the car or when you sat outside for a barbecue. But there was a peace and a restfulness about living in the reserve.
Tell us more about your passion for African choral music.
Yes, my choir was very dear to me. They sort of stirred my soul. And African choral music has always moved me. And I was always interested in traditional music, culture, and the dancing. And so when I had the opportunity to support the traditional culture and promote my choir, I grabbed it with both hands. And I had such a wonderful response from my choir members as well. And also the general public, wherever we went on tour.
One of the interesting things about African choral music is the movement they put into it.
Yes, that's for sure. And I explained quite a bit about the way the choral conductor organizes his choir and how he joins in with the choir while they're singing and then steps out again. And I also assumed that sort of role as I got more familiar with all of that. And yeah, it's great fun too. They enjoy every minute, and the audience is extremely responsive usually as well. My Tia choir I had for about 3 years. Before that, I wasn't too involved in that because the previous college I taught at was more for older people who came for upgrading. So we did not have that culture there. When I moved to Sabi Sand, I was again involved in the Bina Makulu, the festival, national festival at the Pretoria Theatre, and I took some students there as well. But was mainly in Qaqwa, where I was very involved with Bina Makulu and national arts festivals for the Black people. And I also took them to the Boerland Onderwys College, Wellington in those days, where we also were recorded on a CD.
Why would you recommend the book?
That is a very interesting question, because when I set out to write the book, because my friends mainly and my colleagues were all saying, you should really write a book, because they were always intrigued by the stories of Africa and the way of life of Africa. And since I've written the book and people started reading it and giving me feedback, I realized that for a lot of people, the main reason why they are enjoying the book, or even wanting to learn from the book and actually wanting me to recommend it for educators and for students, was that it gives them a glimpse into what life was like as an ordinary person in South Africa under apartheid during those years. And that was not the main reason why I wrote the book. I just wanted to share my stories and the adventures I had. And then I realized that it really fulfilled a specific need for people to understand the culture and where we were at that stage. And it gives them a better insight into just the ordinary person's life. The book is not meant as a political commentary, or I'm not trying to promote anything or condemn anything. I just simply wanted to share what life was like in those days.
Would you say that your experiences as a travel guide and travel writer aided you in writing the book?
I would say that it certainly has given me a wider perspective and a better understanding of what is out there, and how do you relate it to people? Because when you take people on tour, you see your own country, for example, through different eyes altogether, and things that appear to you just to be every day is unusual for the other person who's traveling there for the first time. So from that point of view, I suppose I wrote the book with that in mind, explaining certain things. And that's why I also thought it was important to have the list at the end that gives you a summary of what certain words meant and the translation of certain Afrikaans and Black language words.
Your travels take you all over the world, obviously South Africa as well.
When I came to America, my aim was to see all 50 states. So during COVID, I managed to knock down one more. So I only have 2 more on my list. But because my friends asked me to take them to South Africa, and then it's just word of mouth, and I was forced to sort of start a LLC to basically to protect oneself. And I have a regular group going once, twice, 1 year, 3 times to South Africa. But I've also taken people to other countries like South America and Europe.
Do you miss the African sky?
There's nothing like an African sky. And I suppose in the game reserve, you also have the night sounds, and that means a lot to me. And it brings back happy memories when I look at the sky at night. And yes, certainly.
Is the book available at the moment?
Yes, the book is available on Amazon. There's an ebook, Kindle ebook, which you can download, or under Kindle Unlimited, you can read for free. And there is also a paperback edition.